Broadly speaking, right, there are about two types of hobbies. There are consumer focused hobbies, things like, you collect, like, let's say that you collect those Stanley Cups that are all the way, at least they were the wave about 2 years ago. You can collect fountain pens, you can collect books, you can collect, so many things. So many people have like weird, quirky, interesting collections, even like wine, people collect wine and that's seen as some kind of like high class affair, you know. And then there are creative hobbies, things where your primary input serves to create something new, right? Create something out of nothing. You can draw, you can write, you can, I don't know, woodwork something. Um, you can mold clay. There's so many interesting creative hobbies, right? And I'm going to say that primarily for most of us, including you listening to this, our relationship with gaming is more of a consumer hobby, right? Most of us do not mod games, do not create games, do not write for games, do not even think up game ideas in our minds, right? So we are consumers of the hobby. That's where we lie on. That's where the majority of us are. That's where the majority of the consumer population is. And that's a good thing, right? Every hobby to survive must have creators and consumers. And it's a good thing when the balance is that, there's a smaller pool of creators and a larger pool of consumers that are interested in that hobby because that's how their hobby can thrive. So that's a good thing, right? We wouldn't want everybody to have a winery in their backyard in order for wine collecting to be the thing to survive, right? So that makes sense. The economics of it makes sense. Where we get in trouble, though, is where the people who are the consumers suddenly start to think that they should have the right of the creators. So I've been listening to gaming discourse for the past 2 years or so. And one thing that I constantly hear, especially this generation, is the dissatisfaction that so many people have with gaming, right? With games, the games that are coming out, the games that are playing, the games that are made available, the future projects that I'm hearing about. There's just such pessimism, cynicism, nihilism, dissatisfaction with the thing. And one of my first things that I always wanted to say is, and I'm gonna give this advice to I'm just gonna put it out there. I think you should play less games. Yeah, play less games. Because at the end of the day, despite all the podcasts, and we'll talk about that, despite all of the reading, the consuming of magazines, podcasts, opinions on Reddit, everything that people do, we are still on the consumer side. We are consumers of the hobby. And yet, so many of the most dissatisfied people, these are the people who I realize they try to be creators. They try to take the role, the mantle, the responsibility, the decision making power of the creator class. It will be no different than a rabid, enthusiastic football fan trying to now make the coach decisions. And I mean, this is not a barrier that is crossed only in gaming. It's not like only gamers ever try to play the role of the managerial staff or the people behind the scenes or the investors, the decision makers, the playmakers. Of course, we do that because we're involved, and that separation, it can be blurred at times. But the amount of dissatisfaction that I've seen personally in the gaming community, and that's the one that I want to talk about, is tremendous. But I realized that we often look down upon people who just play sports games. Day in, day out, they play maybe GTA, maybe a sports game, whether that is basketball, FIFA, NFL, whatever combination of that. And then they just play that year after year after year. Like at the end of a generation, they have bought maybe 16 titles, and they've all been different versions of Call of Duty, GTA, and sports games. That's it. That's the 8 year lifespan. Then next console, rinse and repeat until eventually they just get out of the hobby. We look down on them, and yet when I talk to these people, they are often the most satisfied gamers around. They are truly thankful for the hobby. They're just like, yep, this is great. Like I play my game, I finish, and I'm done. I'm satisfied. Once in a while, they will be pulled through with just the sheer momentum of certain things, towards a new title, they might be like, oh, this whole Rocket League thing, let me give it a go, or this whole, I don't know, Marvel Rivals thing, let me give that a go. But then they just go back to their wives, as Paul would put it. They just go back home and they just do the same thing over and over and over again. And ironically, they are the most satisfied. Isn't that interesting? To me, the reason they are so satisfied is that they are consumers that are fully happy being consumers and never pretending to be otherwise. And you know this because there's plenty of hobbies that you do where you are just a consumer. And when you are just a consumer of that hobby, you don't make any complaints. You don't have any complaints because you got the thing that you wanted, whatever the satisfaction is, whatever the joy of the product is, whether it is collecting or whether it is some other form of consumerism, then you just move on with your life and you are perfectly fine with how that industry is going. So let's talk about it. I think you should play less games. I really do. I watch quite often, even though not as much as I used to, but I watch Weapon Wheel podcast, right? Great, great podcast. Weapon Wheel, Broken Games, Jack Move. They have a few new people there that I haven't yet personally gelled with, but fantastic, right? Broken Games and Jack Move are basically enough of a draw by themselves, let alone the other characters and everything like that. Um, yeah, so I watch Weapon Wheel, and one of the yearly tabs, one of the culture of the podcast has always been the yearly count. At the end of the games, how many games did you beat? Not just how many did you play, but how many did you beat? And at the beginning, when I started watching them, I kind of respected that metric. Like it's not just about playing the game, it's about playing and finishing the game. And I see a lot of positivity in that. It's like, yeah, no, stick with the game, enjoy the experience and everything like that. But lately, I can't help but to see more of the other side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is this is a tally. We assign a certain level of gamer credit to a person who is higher up on that tally, and to the point where it might actually be a detriment to your enjoyment of gaming. Like I've heard so many people come through the podcast and at different times say, "Oh yeah, no, there's this game that I'm not really feeling, but I'm going to beat it because I have to beat it." It's part of the culture of the podcast, and I don't think that the podcast uses it as a negative. I don't think that they do it to perpetuate some kind of gamer misery. However, we do have to kind of analyze that and be like, what does that actually do? Let's say you're not a member of the podcast, just like me, you're a viewer, you're a watcher, or you're just a gamer who happens to like the same philosophy. And now you feel like you have to force yourself in certain ways. Force yourself, slog through either a chapter of the game that you don't enjoy, or just like a moment where you're not enjoying the game because it's not the right experience for you at that time. But you have to do it because you have this idea that I need to beat X many games or more games that I beat last year, or my enjoyment of gaming is going to be reflected in how many games I've beaten, or even how many games I've played. Right? Let's say that you take a turned down version and you just count how many games you played and you gave a go. And we have the stats quite often, right? At the end of the year, if you have signed up to all of the ticks and all the things, if you basically gave Sony as much access to your data as possible, they are going to give you a nice graphic at the end of the year that says, hey, this is how much data we've mined from you. And they're going to tell you how many games you played, how many games you tried, which categories of games, and that's nice and it satisfies something in me, deeply satisfies something in me because I've always liked statistics, spreadsheets, graphs, especially when they're nicely animated. Fantastic. I love it, right? But then it kind of reinforces that urge to play and beat and complete and platinum hunt and everything like that, just to be able to say that you truly enjoyed that experience, right? You truly enjoyed it because we have that thing. So I feel like gamers are forcing themselves to play games that they otherwise do not feel like playing right at that moment. There are exceptions, right? I love Clay Obscure Expedition 33. I think that all of you should drop whatever game that you're playing in order to play it. But that's the first game in ever that I've recommended doing that for. Typically, I recommend that people get games 6 months to a year down the road. It's cheaper, it's better, it's been patched up. It's just typically it's a better value proposition at the end of the day. Unless you're a Nintendo game, which at least will never drop in price, but they will get updated and everything like that, right? Um, but like I said, clear obscure to me represents the exception that proves the rule. For most of the time, I recommend that you don't buy games at day one, and I certainly don't recommend pre-ordering games. So I recommend that everybody listening plays less games. Go for quality experiences. You know what? Sometimes gaming isn't for you. I see so many people on the Twitters and they say things like, "Oh, I'm just not happy with gaming right now. Like all of these games are coming out, and they are naming fantastic games. They are naming the Baldur's Gates. They are naming the Spider-Mans, the God of Wars, the Horizons. They are naming the Clair Obscures. They are naming, like the Monster Hunter Wilds. They're naming the Marvel's Rivals. They're naming games from all of like games that the gaming fandom has certified fresh, as if it was Rotten Tomatoes, right? Everybody knows these are great titles, and they're saying that despite all of this, they find themselves kind of lost. They find themselves kind of out of love with gaming. And then my thing is, then don't play. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, literally, don't play. Why would you be forcing yourself to partake in a hobby when it's not the right time for you? Listen, I have plenty of hobbies outside of gaming. And for example, photography is one that I love doing as a hobby. And I haven't done photography as a hobby in a long time because I'm just not in that headspace. It's okay. It really is. Like, listen, I have a bit of a tenuous relationship with my cameras and lenses at the moment. They are not feeling like I'm giving them the love that I should be, and that is true. And I'm working on that. I'm working through that. By the end of the day, if photography doesn't bring me joy at the moment, does it make sense for me to go out there for 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 hours a day and force myself to shoot, force myself to try to enjoy this thing despite the slog, despite the mental fatigue, despite not being in the right space for it, despite not being able to potentially afford it? No, no, it doesn't. Same thing for gaming. Like so many people complain that oh my god, games are too expensive these days. There's no game that's worth $70 or even $60 or certainly not $80, right? And I'm like, then don't buy them, especially for gaming. Because again, gaming is one of the only hobbies I can think of where you come later, the product is better and is cheaper. And typically, it might even be accessible in more places. Like it might be it could have been a console exclusive. Now it's on PC as well. Now it's on a rival console. Like it's just the product gets better, and you suffer no downside. Unlike a physical object where you might be the second or the third owner, and so you have to put up with some wear and tear. Sorry about hitting the mic. You may have to put up with some wear and tear that may have occurred in gaming. You buy the game, and we no longer have scratch discs because these discs never spin that much. They download the data and then they act as a data key, as a license key, basically. So it's just never like I can't think of the last time that I've seen a scratch disc unless you physically take a key and you try to do it yourself. And even then, I'm pretty sure there's like redundancies built in so that it could probably still work as a license and just require you to like download the data from online. So gaming is unique in that way, and that's a good thing. If you don't think that a game is worth even $40, no game is worth more than $30 to you, man. Well, we have products for you. Products that are literally Game of the Year winning products. Like, gaming is one of the only hobbies where you can do that. Gaming is one of the only hobbies where you can have a pristine experience at whatever price point you are ready to pay. In terms of having power and leveraging that financial power, gamers as consumers have some of the most. You don't have to put up with anything that you don't want to, basically. So play less games, but make those games that you do play not only quality experiences, but experiences that you will enjoy the quality of. Don't go and play a fantastic game of the generation games when you're not feeling like gaming, because then you're just going to ruin the experience for you. It's still going to feel like a slog because The problem isn't with the product, the problem is with you. Or maybe not the problem, but at least the temperament is with you. And so whatever attitude you bring in, it's not necessarily going to convert you every single time. That's okay. When I take a look at the list again, like the weapon wheel, end of the year tally, how many games have you beat? I understand the entertainment factor of that, but I wish that more gamers will understand it as entertainment. It is entertaining to compare with your friend. How many games did you play? How many games did you beat? But at the end of the day, to be enjoying this hobby, you really have to be the person that's like, man, I just had a great year playing games this year. Sometimes people look at me and they're like, oh my God, you're playing Horizon for like the 17th time. Yeah, because I love Horizon. I love that world. I love that game, the series of games. I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn at the moment, the remastered version, and they didn't unlock all trophies, which by the way, they still should unlock all trophies if you already done it. Just because I enjoy the game doesn't necessarily mean that I enjoy every single trophy in the game. So I would much rather have my trophies unlock automatically rather than having to redo everything all over again. But besides the point, I love the world. And in many ways, not having these trophies automatically unlocked is just an extra incentive for me to go back into the world and spend time in it. So many times people are like, yeah, like, oh, why are you playing that again? And I'm like, oh, I love it. You know, I love spending times in the game worlds that I already enjoy. Same thing with books. There are so many books that I love to reread. Let me read it again. I loved it the first time. I loved it the second time. I'll probably love it the third time. And if that's what I'm in the mood for, boy, let me go for it. So play less games, but make those quality experiences that you want and that you want to spend quality time with. Don't make it a slog. It doesn't matter if at the end of the year you only got 7 games beat. If you love those games, man, go for it. Now let's talk about the other side, the thing that I alluded to before. When consumers try to become creators, listen, the biggest problem with gamer dissatisfaction that I can see stems from this. A lot of gaming consumers try to become creators in a way. Either they try to make the decisions for the studio, either they try to curtail or basically influence the direction that a studio will go in, like, oh, don't make live service games, or don't make this type of games, or you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And listen, that's fine and dandy as a discussion topic, right? I go on Podorx podcast almost weekly, right? And I have my opinions, I have my things that I do feel strongly, and I stand by pretty much every syllable that I've ever uttered on that show. But at the same time, I don't take it to heart. Like, it's it is not my job at the end of the day to make these decisions, and I keep that top of mind. The podcast is an entertainment. It is entertaining to think ideas back and forth, and everything like that. But I don't take it personal when Xbox never removed their games from Game Pass, even though I still think that they should, right? I don't take it personal when Jade Raymond left her Haven Studios that were just bought by Sony, even though I wish that she hadn't. I would have wanted her to at least see the project through. I don't take it personal when uh, PlayStation, no, not PlayStation, Sony paid $3.6 billion for Bungie. Like, bro, I don't care if it makes financial sense to have to. I don't care if it was a financial mistake. It could have been. It very well may turn out to be. Maybe they regretted it as soon as the ink was dry and they were like, damn, we really fucked this one up though. Good for them, right? These are multi-billion-dollar companies, and I am not paid to think about those things. Yes, I will have opinions because opinions are free to have, and it's pretty free to share your opinion online. So that's it. Like, I don't mind the entertainment side of what if you were an executive, Emmanuel? What would you do if you had the chance? What do you think these executives should do? Where do you think the gaming discussion is going? To me, it marries a little bit of creativity, right? It gives you in that role where you're creating something, but at the same time, it also marries a lot of that entertainment. It is fun to shoot the shit and talk with your friends about where you think life should be going, right? Many different parts of life, the industry. I am sure there are Porsche fans that are looking at the new Porsche 911 hybrid and they have very strong opinions about that. But how many of them truly think or truly take it personal when the Porsche executives do not align with their views? I feel like gamers do that too often. There are gamers that are just too caught up in this thing. Like I was listening to Muchi's podcast and Woody was speaking on there, and I was like, "Whoa, Woody, you're taking this thing way too personal." He was talking about the his grievances with Spider-Man 2's story, grievances that I personally don't agree with. But from the way that he was speaking, you could tell like it was something that they had taken personally away from him, and I was like, man, it's not just that he had a an experience that he didn't, enjoy all of the way through with that particular game, but it's that he thought that the studio itself should make fundamentals changes to the working process or at least the writing process, and then he did this thing that I don't like to do, where he took Clear Obscure Expedition 33, right? A game that I love. I think it's a top 5 game of all time. But then he tried to take that as as a sign, as a signal tower, you know, for where the industry, like should go. And I think that is such a mistake because the culture in one studio, the circumstances that have brought even a phenomenal experience in a certain studio, in a certain setting, at a certain time, is not universal. But it's not. And him taking it so personally, I was like, wow, this is the problem. You are at the end of the day a consumer. You don't like Spider-Man 2? Don't consume it, don't support it. Now, obviously, you're like, well, I went into the hype of Spider-Man 1 and I was disappointed. Okay, cool. Don't buy Insomniac's next project until you have seen enough about it to confirm that it will address your criticisms. But do not take it so personal next time because you're not a creator. You're not on the creator side of this industry. Not that you can't talk about it, obviously, you can talk about it, but when it fundamentally affects your love and enjoyment for gaming, you have to ask yourself, like, did I go too far? Did I try to cross that in my mind in a way that is a little bit too much? A lot of people are not happy with PlayStation's direction, their live service direction. The 12 projects or something, whatever that Jim Ryan had promised. I'm not happy with that direction either. I think that PlayStation should make multiplayer games, not necessarily live service uh, P2P games, PvP games. That's what I mean. First of all, I think that there is a huge market, there is a huge pent up demand for PvE games. PvE games, co op games, online co op games are so sorely needed because as we grow older, listen, I don't always want to be in conflict with another player. And the market is oversaturated with PvP. If you want to battle other players, oh man, there is a smorgasbord of options. But think about like real quality, popular PvE games. How many of those are there? There's Helldivers 2, right? Fantastic. But how many others are PvE games that are popular, that are offering their own unique spin, their own unique world and everything, not always necessarily shooting, but where are they? Which ones are popular? Do you not see like Marvel Rivals is PvP? Fortnite is mostly PvP. Like even Gran Turismo is PvP. Like how many online co-op PvE experiences that are popular? I know that there's a Deep Rock Galactic and everything like that, but again, that is like a niche title. How many games are giving you phenomenal PvE experiences? And I think the market is starved for that. Another thing is that I don't want the live service initiative that goes after endless monetization, endless revenue, endless infinite players coming through and always trying to like grab you and never let you go. I was listening to a small part of a documentary on Warframe, and the thing is that they said on Warframe is that one of the core design tenets is we will let our players go. Like come in, play your season, enjoy the content that we have made, and then we have tuned the game in such a way that you can have as much fun as you want. But if you decide like, hey, I've done what I wanted and I leave, next time you come back, you're not going to feel enormously penalized for it. Like you just fell 10 years behind because you haven't played in 3 months. And I think that's a good design tenet. But that design tenet does not line up with infinite monetization. So I think that again, PlayStation should should absolutely go for multiplayer experiences, prioritize PvE because let's take a look at the most successful live service they have. That is PvE. So there's clearly a demand for it, right? Prioritize PvE, but at the same time, create monetization systems and gameplay systems that let players go. Hey, come in, have a great time. Okay, but the game is going to be fundamentally the same. Like I was talking to, I wasn't talking to, I was listening to another podcast when a person said that, oh, when I play Helldivers, there isn't much a difference between me having like a super high level character and like a mid level character. And for me, I'm like, that is good. That indicates to me, I haven't played Helldivers true because you guys know I have my issues with it. But that indicates to me that the person who is at level 50 is not having a demonstrably humongously worse experience than a person at level 99. So that's a good thing. Like, yes, when you're 99, you feel like, oh my God, like, what am I even here for? But that's good. Don't play the game anymore. Play less of Helldivers. Play it when you have like, oh my God, I have my friends, I have my posse, whatever. I have my squad, and we're gonna love this experience because we are playing, you know, with one another, and that's going to be the thing that we are there for. The bonding experience, not necessarily the sheer stats and chasing this and chasing after that piece of armor or that color unlock or whatever. Play then. But once you reach level 99, if you're like, man, there's basically nothing else to do, that is a good sign that the game has nothing else for you to be perpetually chasing. Because you don't want a grind economy like that. You don't want to constantly feel like, oh my God, like 25 more matches and then I'm going to unlock that. And then 75 more matches after that, I'm going to unlock this. And then 110 matches after that, I'm going to unlock that other thing. And it's just a never ending grind. Your hobby becomes just work, you know? I was listening to another video, right? The video tried to explain what a hobby is. A hobby, they said, is when you do something that looks a lot like work, but it is fun. It's for fun purposes. And that's the thing. Like a hobby has to have that. It has to have something that ostensibly looks like work, feels even like work, has everything that normal work would have. So, example, let's say you were woodworking and you were making like things out of wood. Let's say you love making chairs, right? The act of making a chair is very similar to an act of working. You have to do pretty much everything that an actual person that gets paid to make a chair does. But if you do it as a hobby, you take that thing and you do it for the pleasure of it. That's the thing that makes it a hobby. But here's the thing, you have to understand that those elements both have to be there, the work component and the pleasure component, right? But when you take away the pleasure from your hobby, you're just doing work because the work component stays, right? If you were over the act of woodworking and making chairs or making dining table or making all the pieces of furniture, and you're just over it and you're fed up and you're done and you're feeling no pleasure from it, but then you force yourself to do it every single day, that's just work at that point. The hobby part goes away. And I feel like gamers are so reluctant to just take a break from gaming or to just play less games or to just revisit all titles, which ironically, all of this dissatisfaction is always from people who then try to shame you for not liking all titles all that much. But whatever, right? But they're so reluctant to do those things that they take away the pleasure, they suck all of the pleasure out of their hobby. And so they're just left with the work of it. And then they go on podcasts and they talk about the gaming hobby with such disdain. You feel like, bro, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry that I don't care that Sony Ben hasn't released a game in like 17 years. I don't know. I'm saying that I don't care about that. The reason I don't care about that is because I just play Clay Obscure. Because I just had an amazing time. Because I got the game. that I wanted to play at the time that I could most appreciate playing it. It was just the right game at the right time for me, and it hit different, and it was fantastic. After playing Clay Obscure, I have to tell you, even though I finished the game and even though I have lots of trophies to unlock, I was like, man, I need a break. I was just like, I was so full. I was done. I was just like, yes, this is it. This is like game in Nirvana. Let me just enjoy the aftermath of it. And this game has been living rent free in my head so many times. I think about the characters, I think about the motivations, I think about the selfishness, I think about the flaws of the game, including the flaws in the writing. And I'm just like, yep, I think about all those things. And it's just like, man, even in its flaws, this game was interesting. There will be a time, even like right now, if anybody talks about Clay Obscure, I just fast forward. I don't want to listen to anyone else's opinion. I'm still in my gaming nirvana. But there will be a time when I want to go back and I want to take a look at all of the essays, the good parts, the bad parts, the things that I know are flaws and plot holes, and the things that I haven't even thought of yet. While we want to do a deep dive into the game, I don't even listen to like any like gaming documentary about the game at the moment. I'm just enjoying the aftermath of the experience. It's just been fantastic, right? And at the same time, I'm looking at at what else I have to play in my backlog, and I know that I don't want a similar experience. I know that right now I don't want like a narrative heavy experience because I'm like I don't want anything to encroach that space. That space is completely full of my enjoyment for Clear Obscure Expedition 33 at the moment. So I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So I'm just trying to play like very light games, like card games. I think I'm gonna give Balatro a try. I'm gonna give Blueprints a try. But at the moment, there's this general idea of like, man, I'm almost full of gaming right now. Like I'm almost done. I'm satisfied. I am content. I'm content. I'm content. I am content. I'm happy. I'm good with games right now. And imagine at this time now, if I just had this extrinsic motivation, just extrinsic drive to have this tally, to keep this score, to just keep playing gaming after game after game, even when honestly, the reason that I don't want to game right now is because been so deeply satisfied, which is ironic, right? It's like gaming has given me, Club Obscure has given me what I think gaming should give me personally, right? Fantastic. And funnily enough, at this moment, you know what would really hit right? A good old Battlefield Bad Company 3. I could really go for like a nicely realistic, not super realistic. I'm not trying to just be like what was that? Was it like Hell on Earth or something? That game where it was trying to like just be like super realistic. Like no, like Battlefield realistic. Like enough arcade stuff to be fun, but more more realistic than a Call of Duty. Battlefield Bad Company 3, even Star Wars Battlefront 2, damn, those were some damn good multiplayer experiences. I could use the Last of Us factions right now. Just again, that completely different vibe of gaming is what I'm looking for. And I'm looking at what's available. Marvel's Rivals didn't do anything for me. I didn't see any link between what I was doing and skill level. I know there are skill players in that game. I just didn't see the connection. Not for me personally. Call me blind, whatever. Right? Um, I would love to get into like a Gran Turismo, but then I feel like I have to have a racing rig, and I'm never gonna do that. I am never gonna buy a racing chair and a steering wheel and everything like that. But then playing on a controller, especially online, that just feels so unsatisfying. So it's a weird catch 22. I know that I never want to have the dedicated room to do this thing, but then the only way that I would truly I would truly enjoy that experience is to do that thing. I need a friend like J Dub living next to me so that I can just go and use his gaming rig and apparatus that he's already created, and then I can just enjoy the game that way. That would be phenomenal, right? I need somebody that's really into gaming, racing gaming, and will let me do that on their rig so that I can enjoy that experience. That'd be fantastic. If you live in Melbourne and you've got that kind of thing going on, hit me in the comments. But yeah, I look around at the multiplayer experiences available, and barring Helldivers 2, which I cannot support because again Sony is mistreating the PlayStation customer. worse than the way that they are doing for the PC customers. So I can't support it. But aside from that, I'm like, what else is interesting? What else is around? And yeah, I wish PlayStation had a first party multiplayer game to occupy me at this time because this is when I want it. This is when I want that multiplayer experience. Battlefield isn't coming out for a while. It would be good to have something like a Battlefield right now. And again, I don't want a Rainbow Six Siege, which I think would be the next closest thing that I could get into. But Rainbow Six Siege has a culture all its own, and let's face it, that ship left the space station light years ago. So it was I'm just way too late to get onto that right now. So yeah, I look at these moments and I'm like, Sony does need I'm sorry, Podorok. Sony does need multiplayer offerings to occupy me at this time. And third party is not doing it because I want a really high class experience, high grade experience, and I want it to also be satisfying a very small niche. The last game that did this for me was Rogue Company. I've spent like 1,200 hours in Rogue Company, something ridiculous like that, but it just satisfied that niche in between great single player experiences where I could have something that was skillful and it just had the right elements for me. I'm not saying it was a great game, I wasn't saying it was a perfect game, obviously not. It's a dead game right now. I even downloaded it the other day just to be like, man, can I just get one or two matches in? Can I just find someone? And no, the answer was no, I couldn't. So I look at this moment and I'm like, yeah, Sony should go for multiplayer. And despite all of the mishaps and everything. People talk a lot about the money they wasted. I don't know, was it your money? What the fuck are you concerned about the money they wasted? Let Sony waste 30 billion on multiplayer experiences. I don't care, bro. As long as one day I get that game that can stand in for these moments, oh yeah, waste as much money as you want. I don't care. Now, I agree. I wish that they had taken a more kind of like side by side approach where the single player component was not harmed by the live service pursuit. I definitely wish for that. But here's the thing, these investors, they were coming with money and suddenly wanted to take it. And they said, hey, you make the next live service game. My hope is that Sony has learned from that mistake. That chasing these trends is unfortunate and you should not. And you don't have to. You don't have to have the next Fortnite. It would be nice, but Helldivers is wildly successful, and that could have been an in-house studios game, right? So I don't know. Maybe Sony's next band game is multiplayer, and maybe maybe they're never going to get the success of a Fortnite, but maybe they can get the success of a Helldivers too. Who knows, right? Or maybe half of that, because that will still be great. I think that Sony should focus on multiplayer, especially PvE, possibly PvP, but games that are going to have a moderate or a far more moderate amount of success than a Fortnite or a Call of Duty Warzone or a Marvel Rivals or these other titans of the industry. I don't want Sony to ever have a Fortnite. I don't ever want them to have a GTA Online because as soon as they do that, the studio goes to die. That's the problem. The problem is Rockstar has made has killed so many projects since they got a GTA Online because it's all consuming. I don't want Sony to do that. That's why I think that every single cent that they spent on Naughty Dog was just sorry on Bungie was justified because these are the people that gave Naughty Dog that final push, that final warning, that final permission to say like, hey, we don't think we should do this. Like we can do it, but the disadvantage, the real cost of this thing is much bigger than we think. And that to me, I'm sorry, that is worth all the $4 billion they spent. Naughty Dog is that good. To save them, yeah, save them. I don't see um Sony as having spent $3.6 billion to acquire Bungie. I see them as having spent $3.6 billion to save Naughty Dog. In which case, hey, go for it, right? So yeah, gamers are trying to be creators. They are speaking as if this was on a personal level, as if they ever had the actual ability to impact the gaming industry or what certain companies are doing. I'm telling you, remember that you are on the consumer side until you take the chance. So I take the leap of faith and get on the creator side. Like start programming, start engineering, start voice acting, start doing whatever it is to get you on the creator side of games. But when you're there, you're going to have the power potentially that you're looking for. But until then, we are consumers of this hobby. And I like to think of us more as clients because I think clients are more discerning. Be more discerning about what you play. Don't force yourself to play JRPGs when there's no JRPG that is offering you the thing that you're looking for to scratch that itch. You know, don't force yourself to play anything except Clear Obscure, which you should absolutely force yourself to because all of the pleasure is contained within the product that time. But aside from that, nothing else should you force yourself to. Don't force yourself to play Call of Duty. If you don't feel like playing Call of Duty. Don't force yourself to play FIFA if you don't feel like playing FIFA. Only play what you feel like playing, and if you feel like playing nothing, then don't play at all. It's perfectly fine. Go and entertain and patronize, and by that I mean be a patron of your other hobbies. You have more, and if you don't have any more, like create more. There's so many thousands of hobbies that are just as fulfilling, just as engaging, just as interesting as gaming. It is a fantastic world, and if you have the luxury of a little bit of time and a little bit of money to partake in any hobby that you wish, then absolutely go for that instead. Like go fishing, go, I don't know, there's like these frisbee things where you throw them. I forget what it's for, but it's like there's like this net and you have like a frisbee and then you throw it and you try to get it in the net. It's like basketball with like a frisbee. It's really cool. It's really cool. And people are really dedicated about it. There's some people that like LARPing. Like go do that. There's so many cool creative hobbies. Learn how to pole dance. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that if you're not feeling like gaming right now, then you shouldn't do it. And I'm sorry because this generation is great. This is a fantastic gaming generation. These consoles, the hardware that we've gotten this time around is phenomenal. This is like the 1080 generation of consoles. Like it's just something that punches so far above its weight and will maintain its value for so long. This is why I keep encouraging this gaming generation to go on for longer. But it's just like it's a golden age of gaming. We have studios we've never heard of come up with their first projects, and those to be like easily in people's top 10 games of all time. Easily. That is insane. And it happened twice already this year, not even like 3 years ago. Like Split Fiction is that game for so many people. Clear Obscure is that game for so many people. There's some people even saying that that's Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is that game for them. That's 3 games within like 5 months of 1 year in this generation where people are slotting it in like the top performances, top gaming experiences of all time. That is insane. How can you be unhappy with this generation? How can you? Why? Because Sony didn't give you these experiences? How short sighted is that? How short sighted it is to be like, oh, this cluster of 9 or 11 studios didn't do it for me, therefore the entire generation is ruined. Even though there are hundreds of studios out there putting out not only their best work, but some of the best work ever created. And we have so many more coming, right? Rockstar is obviously like the big freaking comet in the sky that is about to crash land into the planet and reshape our continents, right? But even then, there's so many brilliant stars that are literally coming through. There's freaking Hollow Knight Sing Song, Silk Song about to come. There's what is it, Hades 2 about to come. There's like, man, you know, even from the Xbox side, even though I mean Xbox games are just, man, during the Dark Ages, what are you doing not having a real physical disc? Come on now. Come on now. There's always something about Xbox games. I was just like, come on, why'd you have to be like that, dog? What that was such an unforced error. But anyways, even they are bringing out products that supposedly is going to be much higher quality than what they've ever brought out before. There's a Switch 2 coming out for people that like games for children. There's plenty of PC games that are coming out and entertaining those people that love gaming with misery, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, or PC. That's fantastic. And then there's a whole world of mobile games for people who love to lose money as quickly as possible. Like, whatever it is, however it is, this gaming generation is fantastic. And so if you're feeling dissatisfaction, know that it's not because the industry isn't trying its best to satisfy you, but it's because for whatever reason, there's a dissatisfaction within you that probably indicates you just need to either do less of gaming or just take a break from it altogether. That is my thesis. That's what I put to you. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I will read more readily this one because I'm actually more interested, because I didn't think that I would be saying to people that they should play less at this stage of this year, but I do. I do. And can I just say one last time, if you're only going to play one more game this year, before or after you take your break from gaming, let it be clear obscure. Expedition 33. You thank me later. Ciao.